I think a simple question to first ask is, would you rather live in a world without social media, or are you okay living in a world dominated by it?
I feel like we have to clear one thing up. It's that when we like became friends and bonded over like social media and like our opinions on it, and eventually you deleted it and like you basically deleted like all of your platforms, but
Yeah,
then
literally.
and then I did at one point too.
Mhm.
Then it's not like I don't use it anymore, so I am back on the freaking the gram.
Mhm.
So yeah, I still do use social media. You don't. I think like your only form of social media is basically like Kakao Talk. Yeah.
That's kind of it. Or like group me, but that's for
Yeah.
school. So,
So yeah, but to answer your question after clearing that up, because I feel like social media, it really does like bond people together, like people that you want to stay like in touch with, but you like aren't super close to, but aren't also like you don't want to lose contact with, and you just want to see how they're doing, and also the dank memes. If you don't have social media lately, it's hard to keep up with like news and social like things that are going on in society. So I feel like that's the good aspect of it, that's kind of why I keep it. So I guess even though I really despise social media at times, I would still live in a world with social media.
mhm.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to live in a world without it,
Oh, of
because I feel
course. I
like
mean,
we grew up at like right when it was about to boom.
yeah.
Because back in like our parents' day, it wasn't as prevalent.
Mhm.
I don't think they even had anything. Like they probably only had what, like MySpace
Oh
or
my,
something
our
like that.
parents?
Actually, no, yeah, maybe it was like generations after that, but
Because I remember when because my brother and I have a pretty big age gap. Like social media was just starting to form around the time that he was in like high school, and back then it was literally like AIM and MySpace. Facebook was like just starting to like take off, but it was social media was definitely not as like prevalent as it is now. And so I know like he told me that like it's just so weird seeing like me going to high school like with everyone using Snapchat and all that, everyone staying connected at all freaking times, because like you had to like ask someone what they're doing instead of just like go on their page and see, you know.
yeah, one other thing was also like social media has changed our relationships with people so much because
Oh yeah.
I realize when I'm getting to know someone for the first time, usually their like way of trying to get to know me or like whatever is like, oh, like, do you have like Instagram or whatever? I'm like, no. And then they move down the line, like, oh, do you have like Snapchat? No. Do you have this? Do you have this? No. And then I think when people do, it's usually like, oh, like, let me follow you. And then they're like, oh, we have mutuals. Oh, you know this person? How do you know this person? And then like, it's easy to kind of bounce off of that.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't have that. Like, I'm literally just like, "Oh, we have to talk about something else," because that's, like, not something that I, like, have. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot harder to not only
Connect.
connect, but also, like, stay connected because if I'm not super close with them, like, I'm probably not gonna be texting them 24/7, right? So, I will only really find out about big events in their life if I don't know, I just hear it from someone else or something. And that actually happened to me pretty recently where like I would find out like, oh, like they got into like a relationship or like they got into this school or whatever. And I was like, I didn't even know, you know?
Yeah.
And that's such a big thing, especially for people who I've known for a long time when they were younger and like they're growing up. I'm like, dang, I feel like I'm missing out on your whole life, you know? So it's kind of sad, but
Because now it's like you said, you know how like you said like when people ask you like they just go down the line of like, oh wait, so do you have this then, or okay, you don't have that, do you have Facebook, you know, when that list starts to one by one crossed off, I feel like lately that can equal like their interest in you like decreasing a little bit, because that's what I felt
mhm.
when I didn't have like the 2 years that I didn't have social media. It's like, no, I don't have Facebook. No, I don't have that. I don't have that. And they're just like, oh, okay, I guess there's like no point in like keeping touch with, you know, getting to know this person. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe that's why I feel like people these days aren't as initiative
Yeah.
because the default is just passive information intake.
Right.
So when you follow them, like that's the extent. You're just like, oh, I'm done. Because from here on out, Instagram will automatically show me what they're up
Mm.
to. And I don't have to like, message them or whatever. Cause you get to just comment or like you get to just reply. Honestly, I feel like I'm getting old because I literally every time I like look on my friend's app or something, I they add new features every time. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't even know how to like post a picture anymore or whatever. But yeah, so like there's those features where it just makes it easier for you to kind of just keep in touch with doing minimal work.
Yeah.
So I feel like when it comes to the people who don't have it, they just get kind of left on the sidelines because you're always the one having to initiate because you don't have that luxury of being like automatically reminded of like, oh, this person's here or whatever. It's kind of funny because like my friends will literally like they will message me blocks of pictures. They're like, yeah, since you don't have Instagram, here's what I did today, or like here's like what I posted on my story. I remember one time my friend was like, oh yeah, I forgot you're on my story, or like I talked about you on my story, and like she sent me, and I was like, I didn't even know,
Yeah.
She was saying, like thank you for something. I was like, oh, like, oh, thank you. I didn't even know until you like sent me it. I think we should talk about also why we chose to delete our social media.
That was when we were like, how old were we,
Probably
man? That was
eighth
like,
grade.
yeah.
Well, for
Um,
me, it was kind of in phases. I know that I deleted Instagram way back,
yeah.
probably like freshman year of high school at the latest. And then actually Snapchat, I wanted to delete for a long time, but I had this streak that was like 600 days, and I was like, dang, like all this progress. And then I was like thinking about how, well, when I'm like 25, I'm not going to care about this. And then when I
Yeah.
thought about that, I was like, well, that's kind of reality check. So then I just deleted it. And then Facebook, I had for a while. I had that in college. And then I deleted that like maybe a year or two ago. I still kept Messenger though,
Oh,
but
yeah.
then I deleted that eventually.
So like
But
what prompted you to like start like what made you think, okay, wait, like I want to delete Instagram and then later, oh, like I mean you just explained it, but like, oh, I want to, I feel like I don't need Snapchat anymore and I feel like I don't need Facebook anymore. Like what prompted like what was the trigger?
I think I decided to delete most of my social media because I'm very all or nothing. So I either want to be all into social media or like not have it at all. Especially for something like Instagram, like I know myself well enough now to know that I can't just use it to like keep in touch with people. Like I know that I'm going to end up just spending hours and hours on it.
Mhm.
And I just didn't want to even let myself that door or give myself that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I deleted that. And then for stuff like Facebook, well, I don't really talk to most of these people anyway. And for the people that I wanted to keep in touch with, I would say I'm pretty proactive about it,
Yeah.
like even without social media. So I was like, well, I can do it if I really try. And I can always ask friends and other people like the olden days if I really wanted to know what they're up to. But I will
Mhm.
say it is for sure a lot easier to stay connected and to hit up people that you haven't talked to in a while if you have stuff like social media, as well as like if you have like creative projects that you want to like share
Mm,
with your friends. Like it's so much easier to do that.
yeah.
Yeah. But
I
what about
think
for you?
I'll start off with explaining why I deleted like Facebook and Snapchat first because that's easier. I really didn't feel the need to like really stay connected with all these people that I like did not talk to. I started realizing like, man, I don't care about like seeing what someone ate for like lunch or what kind of what party they went to. I think freshman year of high school, there was this disabled kid that like wanted to sing for the class in health or whatever. And if you're not a really good singer, people are gonna make fun of you. But because this kid was disabled and couldn't really like see what was like going on, like I saw people like pulling up like their Snapchats and like secretly like laughing and recording, and that was really like disturbing to me. I think that really like made me realize like it's just a platform where it's more toxic than like Instagram. I think it's a lot more like you can very freely be like, oh, look at my life, look at what's happening every second. Like, I really didn't like. I just didn't care for it anymore. And for Facebook, it was literally just like, okay, I'm friends with like 200 people that I don't talk to. I don't care. Bye. And Instagram, I deleted for about 2 years, ever since like middle of like freshman year, I think. I didn't feel the need to put on a facade, kind of diluting all of my, bad days and just only just gathering a bunch of pictures of the good moments of my life. It was just, it was getting toxic. Like, I didn't like want to see girls that I would never look like, but I would look at and get so sad. I still do sometimes because, obviously I re-downloaded Instagram now, but I have a way better like control and viewpoint, perspective of beauty standards and social media and like the toxicity of it and how to manage it. But back then it was like, I was 15 and I just wanted to be pretty. I wanted to be, liked. And it was so bad for me. I would look at like these IG models that I would never look like, that no one's ever gonna look like unless you look like them, And it was just like, I did not need to kill my confidence and kill my self esteem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true about the self-esteem part because I feel like the more you're exposed to people who like don't look like you and you think look
Yeah.
better than you, suddenly you start to think what's wrong with you. But like 90% of the time it's probably Photoshop and maybe not. Like maybe they actually look like that and like
Mhm.
that's valid, right? But I remember watching a video where it was showing like different ways that Instagram influencers will like edit their pictures or
Yeah.
videos or whatever to like look a certain way. And I was like, this is so relieving, I feel like, because that means that they're just people like us and like their body isn't like this contortioned image that
Right.
we make it out to be.
Even if they don't Photoshop it, it like these pictures, it's all about angles, dude. Angles, lighting, the way
So
that they
true.
pose. Because, I saw like one of those videos and it like shows like how like different people like the way that they pose, it can make them look skinnier, or like if they don't like pose in a certain way at all, then it just looks like they're fat even if they're not. None of the things that we see, I mean, even if they are real, it's in a way, to some extent, it's all very changed, altered.
Yeah, it's staged for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's why the concept of Finstas, I've never understood. Well, I get it actually, because you want a place where you feel safe to post whatever
Yeah.
you want. But then I'm like, why can't that just be your main, right? But I guess,
Yeah.
that kind of just shows like a lot of social media is what you want to portray on the internet. Usually you don't want to portray the bad sides.
Mhm.
And I think everyone knows that. Like everyone knows that, you want to post the good parts of yourself. But I don't know. I just saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm out. This is why I'm gone. I don't know, like, how was your life when you deleted your social media? Was it any different?
Dude, I have like journal entry upon journal entry of like during the time that I like didn't have any social media at all, from like 2016 to like 2018. I like read through it sometimes and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I'm using social media again. Cause like, do you really do notice the difference? I would think of everything as like a potential post or a
I feel
potential
that.
caption.
I really feel that.
Like I would see something and be like, oh my God, that would like, I wouldn't appreciate it for what it was. I would just see, oh, that would make a really good Instagram story. Or what was stories even around back then? But anyway, that would make a really pretty post. Or, I would think a thought and think, oh, wait, that would make a really funny caption. And like after deleting it, it was just like I felt like I could like take in everything just for what it was once again. It was refreshing, dude. Not keeping up with like what, seeing all the time like what someone's doing. It was just so refreshing. I like finally felt like during that time period I could just be myself, not care about what I look like, in terms of like I wish I looked like this girl or blah 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 blah.
I agree too. Like, I feel like I just have a lot more time to do everything
Mhm.
else except for be on the internet. And it's not even just social media. I think when I cut down my time, like watching videos or like watching Korean drama or whatever, I just find that I have so much free time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, wow, I really need to start other hobbies because I'm wasting my life if I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I it's a very out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
Right.
So when I don't see other people's lives and other people's bodies and clothing and whatever, I just don't feel the need to scramble and get all of those things.
Mhm.
Like, of course, I can probably do better in a lot of aspects of my life, right? But I feel like that would be exacerbated if I was on a platform where everyone else seems like they're doing everything and I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'm not doing enough." When in reality,
Right.
I'm actually doing a lot or like I have a lot on my plate, but it's just compared to this other person,
Right,
I'm
right.
not. And I feel like that's so unnecessary. Because ultimately, your life is your own life. Like,
Right.
you're living your own life. So, in 5 years, in 10 years, the choices that you make, you're gonna be responsible for them, and it's not gonna be like, "Oh, am I living up to this person's standard?" It's like, this is your own experience, like, this is your own life, so you have to take responsibility for it, and
Dude, facts.
I just wonder what it looks like to the outside world, our everyday life when we're using our phones. Because we are so immersed in our phone, right? Or whatever it is, like when we're watching videos or we're scrolling through things, it's like
Mhm.
we're taking in so much information. But if you look at someone who's doing that from an objective perspective, they're just literally sitting there or laying there on their phone for like 6 hours straight.
You can witness that on I mean, anywhere, but lately I've really noticed that on the train, on the Korean subway. What you said is right, like you're taking in so much, but when I just like put my phone down and just like listen to music and like look around me, it's just millions of people just like all in the same position, just with their phone in their hand and staring at it. It's
Basically.
crazy.
'Cause everything is going on in your head, but no one can, like, see what's going on inside there, so all they see is just your body just standing there or
Yeah.
sitting there, like, just using your phone, and I think life is way too short to do that. I feel
Yeah.
like there's so many other things that you can do. That's why when we complain about, like, "Oh, I don't have time to do this," like, that's a lie. We just spend so much time on the internet because it's so natural, like, it's such
Mhm.
a instinctual thing to do nowadays, but we could be doing so much more.
Right.
Not that more is better, but we could be doing things with substance that I think we would
Mhm.
be more satisfied with and we'd be more fulfilled by than just empty entertainment and like empty noise.
That's so true. And, not to say that, like, of course you're going to look at your phone when you're on the subway, like on a train ride for 50 minutes, just like sitting there, Obviously, it's not a bad thing to do that. But what you're getting at, it's just like when you do have like free time to just like do whatever, but you choose to go on your phone and scroll through everything.
Yeah, there have been way more times that I've been like, oh, maybe I should check what this person's doing. And then I end up in a spiral of
Yeah.
looking through things. And I'm like, I just regret it because I feel like I wasted my time. And I'm like, why did I do that? Like, there was no point of that. I think the only time that that's acceptable for me and that's productive for me is when I look through someone's stuff and I'm like, "Oh, like, this is an update," and then I'll, like, text them or something, and I'll be like, "Oh, like, let's catch up because clearly there's been a couple things that have happened in your life that I wanna, like, hear about." But other than that, I feel like it's kind of useless, especially with people that you're not super close with anymore. I
Yeah.
don't even have their contact information anymore, I can't even hit them up even if I wanted to. So, I also wanted to ask, how come you chose to start using social media again?
During that time that I deleted it, I just really like realized good and the bad aspects of social media. I really thought about it, and I really wanted to find like inspiration for photography and just also the dank memes. I love the memes, I can't live without. So it just like after I realized like, hey, instead of just deleting social media like overall, there's a way to use it in a healthy way. After I re-downloaded it, I made sure that like even now, like the people that I let follow me, it's all people that I still want to keep in touch with because I do have friends abroad, Obviously we don't like talk all the time, but we're friends, and like if when we see each other another day, it's like we want to catch up, and people that I genuinely like. So I like filtered the people that follow me and also filtering the people that you follow, instead of just following influencers that you follow just because like, oh, they're pretty or their feed is nice or whatever. Like made sure not to follow any of those and really just follow like accounts that of people that I want to keep in touch with and really want to see how they're doing, like accounts that give me creative inspiration. So like photography accounts that I really find aesthetically pleasing and give me inspiration for what photos that I want to take. and also meme accounts. I really learned how to filter my Instagram. Like I have this rule to my that I always think of, when I like get caught up in like the bad aspects of social media, like remember that this is like a platform to just post like a compilation of, all the seemingly good aspects of their life. Don't get too caught up in that. Everyone's going through their own struggles and hard times. No one really has it together, and you don't have to post pictures of yourself in your life that make it look like you do too. Really like using it for a place where I can post like pictures that I took and am proud of, and I just want other people to see, because I want to share it. Basically, long story short, I learned how to use it in a healthier way.
Yeah, I think that's really important because, I'm not going to sit here and be like, everyone delete their Instagram right now. Because I kind of used to be like that. I used to be very like, I think everyone should just delete social media. But, certain people, they have different values. And for them, they have genuine intention to like share their art with their friends or, I don't know, keep account of their like good memories. That's totally fine, right? And so I don't want to be like, yeah, everyone delete your social media right now. Start being hyper productive because that's not the point. Like the point of not having social media is so that you just learn to really live life. And sometimes even for me as someone who doesn't use like other platforms of social media, I still waste so much time on the internet. So it doesn't even really matter too much about whether I use it or not. It's like, besides that, like, how are you using your time? And how are you able to enjoy the moments? Because I think the issue with social media for me, like you said, was like I would see things or I would be with friends, and then instead of like just hanging out with them, I'd be like, oh, like this is a good idea, or like this is a good picture, or whatever. And I'd be so caught up with that that I totally lose track of what we're doing. I
Yeah.
don't want to just do something so that I can make art out of it. Like I think art should be a natural process. And I felt like that a lot when I used to journal. That's why I stopped journaling because I realized I was living my life to journal in a
Mm.
sense. I would wait until I got to my room so that I could process by writing instead of the other way around of like, I just live my life and then like, oh, when I need to process, I'll write it down. It was the other way where like I found purpose and meaning in writing and being productive in that way. I was just living way too much in my head and I didn't
Yeah.
like that. Like that's my form of just living too much inside my head. Like and for other people sometimes it's social media, for other people it's their work. It's just different for everyone. So I feel
Right.
like it's just understanding your weaknesses. Like for me, I know that my weakness is that if I download something like Instagram, like I will definitely fall into bouts of looking at people's profiles or like looking up pictures and like comparing myself or whatever it is. But like for you, you're able to download it and maybe that happens to you once in a while, but you still are able to keep it under control because you put up boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
And like for me, my boundary is just a little bit stricter than yours. But ultimately, like
Yeah.
the fact that we have both set up boundaries, I think is really important because that's what keeps us healthy. And that's what allows us to have a balance between like, oh, I get to like, see other people's art and stuff on this platform, but I also get to live my life and not have to compare myself and compare
Right.
like my photography or my like whatever to this other person. And I think that's really important.
Right. And yeah, the key is to make sure that it doesn't become an unhealthy addiction, but
Yeah.
instead keeping it an accessory. For the most part, yeah, it really is all about just like making sure that it doesn't become like all that you see and think about. Really, like I said, just an accessory, just something on the side that you can enjoy from time to time.
So basically, like at the end of the day, it's not even about social media. It's just about balance because you
Right,
can
right.
get so in your head about anything. Like even if it's a creative project that's meant to be something for you to express yourself and, release stress, that can turn into obsession. Like your work can turn into obsession, social media, like watching videos on YouTube, like literally anything. Especially I feel like if you're a very like all or nothing person, I feel like
Yeah.
that's a tendency that like happens. I think it's learning how to balance everything, and that's when you're able to enjoy things to the fullest extent and not like gorge yourself on one thing or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Title of this video, we're talking about social media, but in the end we realize, oh wait, it's all about balance.
Yeah, basically. It's just about balance, really.